Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Edge podcast. Tonight, we have a special edition with a guest, Matteo Sorci, who I met a few weeks ago, and we are going to talk about harnessing agentic AI. So, we are very grateful for your time, Matteo. And
Thank,
to start with, can you just, introduce yourself and your experience with AI? Thank you so
sure.
much for being here.
Thanks a lot, Francois. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, indeed. Let me introduce rapidly myself since I a long history, but I've tried to be short because, as I said a few days ago, I didn't wear many hats. I did many different lives in my life careers. But actually, and my love with AI started a long time ago when I arrived in Switzerland for my diploma project at EPFL in early 2000, and since then I never left AI in a way or another. So I arrived in Switzerland. I work on some computer vision application, and I work on different companies on machine learning and computer vision application. And then I came back to the same lab where I did my diploma project, and I did my PhD. My PhD on something that now we would call AI, but at the time was what I call statistical learning or machine learning. And I work on modeling and teaching machine to interpret emotions. So it was a nonverbal communication. After that, I spent 15 years in my own company. So I started and founded and I was behind as a scientific and CTO, a CSO, a CTO of the company for 15 years. And we were applying AI, and it was a little bit too early because we started in early 2009, and the company grew, and I had 100 employees all over the places. A big journey, a big AI journey. And then when I decided to leave the company, I spent another 2 years in research institute in AI, working as mentor for startups, AI startups, and also continue my work on AI. And then recently, 1 year ago, I joined what I call the dark side of the force, meaning I became what is on my title, my signature of emails, an account executive. But let's say, an outlier in that context because I keep doing my job, and I'm trying to push AI on companies, actually on public institutions that are my accounts, my clients. So I
Mm.
do that
Thank
different
you.
facets.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience. We are very honored to have you on board and share all you know about AI because you are a real expert. I mean, we with Dominic, we've been discussing about AI on our podcast for a year already, and we see that things are moving so fast. And when we met at a conference recently, you were talking about harnessing agentic AI. So this is going to be the topic for today,
Yeah.
and I'm going to share some of the content. So maybe we can start with that. What is your definition of harnessing agentic AI? And let me know when you want me to move the slides.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Actually, you can go directly to the second slide, but where there is a definition that the audience can read while I speak, and I tend to talk too much, so please feel free to stop me anytime. But if I want to be pragmatic and use just a couple of sentences to explain what I mean by harnessing in this context. In this context, harnessing is the work of taking a raw language model and wrapping it in the structure, in a certain structure, and so that to turn it into something useful is above all trustworthy. So
Mhm.
with this sort of magic word, container of many, let's say, layers that we will see probably in a minute,
Yeah.
the famous seven layer that I mentioned a few days ago. Um, we managed to get this AI agent more and more trustworthy and usable in production. But in order to do that, we need to pass to these seven layers that are somehow, in a way, theoretical, but not only theoretical, because there are questions that we need to ask ourselves when we want to deploy an agentic AI, but concrete stuff we need to do to make it work that are not rocket science, but without them, it's hard to deploy a trustworthy agent. And
Okay.
one last thing that it's something really important that is in this slide is the quote at the end, right? On the bottom of the slide. When you say I built an agent, actually what you built is an harness pointed at the model, so surrounding the model. And
Okay.
last thing I want
So
to say,
Matteo,
voilà.
yeah, I have a few questions, just to set the context. So I understand, it's about making it work in a trusted way. Would you say that this harnessing is a must do? Like every company that is developing agentic AI should go through that process?
Not only that, they're actually probably already doing it without knowing
Okay.
it, because found just recently we applied the sort of conception, not only framework, but even a larger audience, not only business. Every one of us are using already agentic AI, are already harnessed, because when we use Claude or ChatGPT, it's already an agentic AI with all these harness that make it, let's say, go to a goal, achieve a goal with this what I call other superpowers. So anyway,
Okay.
whatever we are using at the moment is already an harness agent. And every time we use this starting harness agent to build on top of it our agents, we just keep pushing, adding layers of other layers of this harnessing process. It's
Okay.
just like a Russian doll, if you want. Every time we
Okay.
add other harnessing layers to make it even more controlled.
So, if you had to talk to a CEO of a company that knows nothing about that, what would you say is the main benefit about putting that, structure in place?
Actually, if you don't put this structure in place, and as I said, we this is something that people are already doing it, but without
Yeah.
knowing it, without going to the through the all seven layers, they are putting production that something that is not ready for production. So this is
Okay.
the risk, because what we do with these layers, it just, as I mentioned before, as I said before, it to make it trustworthy means we can control it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the risk to, especially in an agentic world where you give superpowers like tools, things that allow the agent to control stuff, but also communicate with the world outside. Yeah, definitely, if we don't have control, we don't put guardrails, or we are we keep the wheel of the agent is going to go. The risk is that it goes nuts and do things that would be, let's say, risky.
Okay. So, you
So,
talked about those 7 layers. Maybe we move to the next page where you can explain, what are those 7 layers quickly, if you will.
yeah. So basically, every time we approach, as I said, an agent or a problem where we want to deploy an agent, before deploying it, we need to go through this list of questions and do action to give the agent and, let's say, a frame those questions for the agent we want to deploy. Clearly, the first one is the scope. Okay, where the agent has to operate, what system, what data, what workflows it needs to handle. Huh? Because this not only in theory, not only answering your question, but also uh, it's something that the agent needs to touch. So we need to really define this scope. Uh, Basically, it's like if you are not able to draw boundaries, you don't have a scope. This is the first thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Distraction. Somehow somehow straightforward. Basically, how the agent should behave. What are the set of different rules depending on how you apply the agent? The agent must follow, and you are the one, the rule maker, if you want. Huh? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how it works, this works in an agentic world. It's simple, and all these layers that we are talking about, most of them, including the instruction, are basically in one simple file that in Anthropic environment is called cloud.md, or in OpenAI I think it's called agents.md, but where all these sets of roles and actually the layers, all the other layers, are defined. So distraction, as you can imagine, we tell rules, the rules, sorry, not the rule, the rules that the agent has to absolutely follow, right?
Follow.
So
Okay.
then
Okay.
we have the tools. The tools we mentioned are superpowers because they provide the agent to communicate outside its own world. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it is the super risky part because we can give the agent the way to take control of the external world, or communicate for us, or doing things representing us outside our computer or our infrastructure. So it's super important that tools are used correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is another important thing, the memory, right? And this is the tricky part because you don't want abuse with all the memory you need to bring, or you agent needs to bring with you, because if there is a lot, the risk is that there is a drift of the agentic and they start hallucinating. But at the same time, you don't want to bring zero, because otherwise we start from scratch. The agent has no sense to exist, if you want. So a good balance, and this is something really important. So basically, we need to define what does the agent always carry, what he needs to look
Yeah.
up, and also what he needs
Mm-hmm.
to forget. Then the
Okay.
permissions clearly are very important, right? What is allowed to do, what is not allowed to do, and what is supposed to ask us, human in the loop. It's another important part before doing anything. As you can imagine, this is crucial, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
evaluation. Without an evaluation, so a way for the agent to evaluate what itself what is doing. So it needs to be have criteria, defined criteria that we define, so that he can
Yeah.
understand if it's going in the right direction or not. Or the evaluation is on us, because it's important always to have a human in the loop. In some processes, there are parts that are completely automated, evaluated by the agent itself, but then there is part where we, human in the loop, we need to interact and evaluate what is doing. And an agent without evaluation is basically a black box that you
Agreed.
can only open to that works, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
And
Agreed.
then last but not least is the audit, the traceability. At every point in time, we need to understand what the agent did, I don't know, a week ago,
Yes.
all right? Uh,
This
it,
is the thing that is the most often asked. You know, how do we know what? How can we audit? What is the traceability? This is very important.
and if you
So
don't
you
have this,
mentioned that.
uh, just
Sorry,
if you
you
don't have
mentioned
this,
that.
you're just using a magic box. Voilà.
Yeah, you mentioned that most companies are already doing those types of things. But do you feel that there is maybe one or two that are lacking or not sufficiently robust in this framework?
One of two what? Sorry,
Among these layers, which ones do you feel that most companies are
among the
missing?
layers. Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, the one we most of the time we think to do well, but we lacking the most, or we don't implement correctly, and then there are problems all the time. Is the permission? Uh, is the permission layer. This as you can imagine, if you don't set the right permission, it can be super risky. And most of the time, companies underestimate that. Let me put it this way.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So definitely permission and tools, but tools are somehow related to permission, if you want, because and instructions. So the tools they do nothing if we don't use them. And in order to use them, we need to give the agent an instruction how to use them, and how to use them and what they can do with the, or they can't do with the tools that goes into permission.
If you look at from the organizational point of view, uh, who is responsible for putting all this together? Is it more like the IT side, the data science, the business? I mean, who do you need to involve to make sure that all of this is in place?
For me, it's a teamwork because yeah, but the technicality of this, it's between brackets, it's is becoming simple, well known, or how to deploy something, but how to deploy it correctly is another thing, meaning how to define the spec that defines these 7 layers is not only a technical job, and most of the time actually it's better to have something non-technical working with a technical guy, because having different eyes and how we see the world is way better. So it's more a joint job to, uh, let's say, spec the 7 layers. And then there is the actual
Mhm.
implementation that is almost straightforward.
Okay, okay. Shall I move to the next slide?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What we have, I don't remember. Let's see in the next. No, I
Yeah,
think.
maybe yeah, coming to, I think, wrapping up and a conclusion to our
Yeah,
discussion, the importance of harnessing.
yeah. And
Yeah,
definitely, very migrated. There is the next slide. There is the analogy I always use with the horse, right? I think
yeah.
is so. Basically, what I want to say at the end is that, um, if any, what I want someone to remember is the following: uh, the the model you buy, okay, but the harness you design. This is really the key message that everyone following us today should bring home or bring to his job. Uh, and
Mhm.
the fact that, given what I said about the nesting, that is clearly is few minutes talking, it might be somehow a little bit still a little bit fuzzy. But again, the think it as a wild horse that you want to use to use in the field. If the wild horse without all this harness, it just only pure power that has no use. Huh? But with
Mhm.
the goal of working in the field and harnessing it, so we can control it, it definitely this power will be of use. And the last thing I want to say, the future is not to someone that is a great deployer. I mean, someone that is just able to deploy agent. The future belong in this world. It belongs to the people that who learn how to harness them. Uh, that is how it's going to work. Actually, how is it is working already.
Mhm. Yeah, and I take your point that it has to be very specific to each situation. It's not something you can buy off the shelf. You need to make it very specific to the agent that you are working with. So
E-
it's not
e-
one size fits all.
Exactly. So, and you need to, as I mentioned, it's important to have different views on some conceptual problem, then will be refined and then just implemented. The implementation is probably the easiest part.
Thank you so much, Matteo, for sharing this with us today. I think it's very important as we see how fast AI evolves that each organization puts in place the right, as you say, harness or the right control methods to make sure that it's done in the most robust way.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast, and see you soon for another episode. Bye
Thanks.
bye. Bye,
Bye.
Matteo.